The Hog Sty is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsty.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Sty. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Hey, and welcome to this final episode of the 2018 season's The Hog Sty. Redskins got shut out in the most embarrassing home game I think they've ever had today versus the Eagles. This one goes up there with that Kansas City slaughter that we had a few years ago, the Steelers invasion, what was that, 2011? I don't quite remember. 2013. Yeah. This was an awful game to watch. I'm sure if you were one of the 3 Redskins fans who was at the stadium, it was also awful. We're not going to make this a long show because, there's really not a whole lot to talk about when you get shut out.
It ends up being, that's Alex,
yes.
By the way. Sean is wisely out, because
Sean's on a plane somewhere, he said,
He's probably having more fun on the plane than we did watching this game. But that was Alex. I'm Steve. Jamal's here.
Yeah. Sorry for not doing the normal introductions.
It's all good. You have to emphasize the fact that there was not a lot to watch here. I get it.
No. This game, we knew it would be bad. I don't think any of us thought it would be this bad. No one predicts a shutout, right?
No. How can it predict this? I'd like to give a shout out to the folks who have been following us all season.
Yeah.
Thanks for sticking with us because it's been a miserable season, and we know if you're listening to this show, you're a diehard, and we appreciate it. So thanks very much. We're certainly planning on continuing through the off season, and we'll have more plans to come.
Right.
And
but finally, we're going to go back to one show a week after this, just to make our listeners aware.
It's a grind.
Yeah, the season is a grind for us. So one show a week from here till next season. But that's just housekeeping. Guys, I'm going to change up the order of today's show from our normal shows because this is the final show, so why not? I want to do game balls first. That's what I want to do.
You want to do game balls first?
Yes, I want to do game balls first because there's nothing else to talk about with this team.
Well, look,
there's a lot to talk about with this team.
There's enough to talk about because the one thing we're going to do if we talk about game balls is have nothing to talk about. we ain't about to have nothing to talk about if we talk about game balls.
Well, I'm going to do it anyway.
I've got my game ball ready. I've got my game ball good and ready to go.
All right. I'm going to do it anyway. Let's do game balls. Steve said he's ready to go. I've got some ready. And Jamal, if you need a minute, you can go last.
All right, how about this? Y'all two can go. I will make it known right now that I defer. I have no game ball. I'm sorry. So I sit this one out, but I will listen to everything that you all have to say.
All right. Fair enough.
Okay. Well, very good. Well, first of all, before I forget, shout out to the 3 ladies who were sitting next to me in the sports bar today. They wanted me to mention them. And, so there you go. 3 very nice ladies. I probably would have sat and talked to them, but see, I'm dedicated to this show. That's why I left 3 beautiful ladies to come talk to you people. So, this shows my dedication to the Redskins.
Don't know what you're doing wrong in your life, Steve.
I know. I'm sitting here talking on the radio instead of talking to the 3 ladies who were interested in at least watching me take notes. In terms of game balls, listen, Tress Way, it gets the game ball for me. Spoiler alert for next week, he's going to get my season MVP award when we do that on the next show. I just decided we're doing that on the next show, I guess. Tress, he completed the whole season without a touchback, so there's nobody on offense who deserved a game ball. I mean, forget that. And on defense, I'm going to give the game ball to Sean Dion Hamilton, not because I thought he had a great game, but because I don't know why in God's green earth he's not starting over our horrible linebackers, on a regular basis. And so I think he has the most talent of any of the inside linebackers. So no game balls on offense. They just sucked donkey balls today. And Tressway and Sean Dion.
We don't use the phrase "suck donkey balls" enough on this show. I've long said that. It's
and you're right.
I'm right. I'm with you on Tressway. At one point he threw the nicest pass of the game.
It's nice as past
yeah,
of the year.
It may be. And I'm not gonna say a whole lot. You guys know I was crushed on the special teams guys. So Cressway's my offensive guy, and I'm gonna go Kerrigan. 13 sacks on the season, good for you. That's all I'll say.
Ryan Kerrigan, yeah. That's he's Mr. Consistency.
Yeah,
gotta,
yeah. I know he's not the perfect linebacker, but
he's the perfect one
right.
we have. What else can we say? And Jamal defers, Alex. So, Mr. Host, keep us
all right. So, sorry, my wife is blowing up my phone all of a sudden.
On Ryan Kerrigan.
Okay, go ahead.
I have look. Everything that you said, I agree with. He's not the perfect, but he is Mr. Consistency, Steve and Alex. Congrats to him for getting the 13 sacks. I actually predicted that before the season. Seriously, I made a couple jokes in my predictions, but that was one of the serious ones. So he got his 13. He got his 13 sacks. Shout out to Trustway, who should have been a Pro Bowler, but you know how that goes. Also, he's not on a winning team, so it doesn't really help his case. So yeah, that's as much as I got to say.
How often is the best punter in the league really on the winning team? Because if you're the best punter, you're doing it a lot, and the winning teams don't punt a lot. So
yeah.
Well, part of the problem is that the people who vote, because it's 1/3 a fan vote, nobody pays attention to the punter. You just pick your punter, or you pick the guy that has the top yardage.
Right.
It's one of those two, and Tress doesn't have that, but you're paying attention.
Right. If you're looking at the advanced punting sabermetric stats.
Which I hope you're not, because even we don't do that.
I do, but I'm me. I'm weird.
Yeah, but you're the
okay, so let's actually talk a little bit about this game.
Please let me do the stats.
All right.
The stats today. It makes me happy.
I wish we had sound effects so I could just play wah, wah every minute.
No, I really want to do them because it's just incredible. All right. So, first of all, the first thing I like to say is that Josh Johnson had a quarterback rating of 0 at halftime.
Yay! That's a perfect score.
That's tough. It's tough to do. It's really tough to have a 0 through 2.
Well, in theory, our backup quarterback had a 0 too.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Tressway had a 95.8 quarterback rating, just if you want to know. But here's the stats. Josh Johnson was 12 for 27 for 91 yards, 3.4 yards per attempt, sacked 4 times, 1 interception, quarterback rating at the end of the day of 37.7. Tressway, like I said, 1 for 1, 7 yards passing. Rushing as a team, they were 12 for 21. Yuck. Chris Thompson led the way, 2 for 10. Samaje Perine got some carries because, why not? 3 for 7. Josh Johnson was 3 for 4. Adrian Peterson, they wisely got him out of the game early because why would you leave him in this disaster? 4 carries, 0 yards. He had no room whatsoever. The leading receiver on the day was Josh Doxson, 2 receptions, 33 yards, 4 targets. Michael Floyd, 2 for 15. Matt Flanagan got in the game, 1 for 14. Chris Thompson, 5 for 14. Darvin Kidsey, got an NFL catch, 1 for 8. James Crowder, 1 for 8. Jehu Chasson got in a little bit. He's another one. Someday Jehu Jr. can say Dad got a catch in an NFL game, 1 for 7. On the Eagles side, dramatically different. Nick Foles was 28 for 33. So, yes, he did have some incomplete passes. 221 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 3 sacks, 102.1. Nate Sudfeld, because, Redskins, was 1 for 1, 22 yards, 1 touchdown, perfect quarterback rating of 158.3. Wendell Smallwood led the way in rushing, 12 for 53. Josh Adams was 11 for 50. Darren Sproles, 7 for 24. Receiving-wise, Alshon Jeffrey, 5 for 59. Nelson Aguilar, 5 for 40. Strangely enough, Zach Ertz was quiet, 3 for 15. So he didn't.
They didn't need to.
No, yeah, they didn't. Why would you leave him in the game? It's crazy. And on defense, because let's knock this out right now. Zach Brown led the way, 11 tackles. Mason Foster, 10. Sean Dean Hamilton to Sager Everett, 8 tackles. And in terms of sacks, Sean Dean Hamilton had 1. Stacey McGee had 1. Ryan Kerrigan had 1. As Alex said, that was number 13 on the year. And in terms of the Eagles, we will give Michael Bennett credit for a sack. There were 4 on the day. Fletcher Cox just dominated whoever the hell the people were out and playing guard for us.
The orange cones, yes.
Yeah, the orange cones. And then Rasul Douglas had an interception. And then the one bright spot for the Redskins on defense was the DeShazer Everett interception. Yeah. So that is stats. Oh, and I'd like to point out that James Crowder was returning punts today, which I don't say that as necessarily a good thing. I say it as just a thing.
Yeah, I think
Because he's terrible at
it. I agree. He's not good at it, but compared to the other guys we've had, he actually has sadly been better.
No, he's sadly exactly the same.
He at least doesn't fair catch everything he tries.
He did.
Whereas Greg Stroman called about 58 fair catches when he was doing it.
Well, I think what did it for him was when he, wasn't it Stroman that fair caught that ball on the 8-yard line?
Something like that. Yeah.
Was that Crowder? Yeah. Was that Crowder? Or
I think everything did was Crowder.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I had my eyes closed at that point in time. So that's stats.
Yeah, it was not a pretty day. When you're starting a lot of fifth stringers, you're basically putting out your preseason roster at for the last 3 weeks, especially. It's just been brutal to get through.
Well, let's talk, and I want Jamal, because you have the best sense of these things sometimes. We've seen Josh Johnson for 3.5 games. We talked about this off the air before the show. A lot of fans were excited about him, and certainly he's got a great story and, nice guy, blah, blah, blah. But is this dude worth bringing back next year? He was horrible. He's just atrocious.
Like we were talking about before the show, it was a good story for 2 weeks, and it fizzled out after. I mean, really, the fourth quarter of last week, it just fizzled out. And that's unfortunate for him, but at the same time, he won't be losing any sleep. He has opportunities elsewhere. He's already drafted into a new league that's starting in a couple months. He has things going on for him. And specifically related to your question, I don't necessarily think it's a big deal to bring him back. He is 32 years old. I mean, for him to be a backup, that's something to consider. But at the same time, you have to think long term here. If you're going to get a person to back up, look, we don't know the specifics of Alex Smith, but just saying, if you're going to have somebody come in and back up Alex Smith for when he's able to return, assuming he will return, you want somebody that's young and that will have a couple, gain enough experience, who's also young enough. For example, we don't even know if Jay's going to be back. We don't know that for sure. Rumors, speculation say that he's likely to be back, but we just do not know for sure until everything is said and done. Josh Johnson has came in specifically off of the back of Jay Gruden. He knows Jay Gruden, all that type of stuff. I don't necessarily think it's a good idea to bring a 32-year-old quarterback in who's only in here for one coach. If things happen to change, he has to, he had opportunities to start elsewhere. And the team that, or the regime that comes in and may cut Josh Johnson, his opportunity is now gone that when he was with the AFL or whatever it's called, AAF.
AAF.
Yeah, AAF. Whatever that stuff is called. So,
Alex is the only one.
Alliance of American Football. Oh, there's a third league starting up next spring too.
Oh yeah.
I could,
because the market is not crowded enough with bogus.
Right. It's going to be the Alliance of American Football, the XFL, and then this league that's being started by players like Ricky Williams. That's a whole thing.
Oh yeah, that's nice.
It's going to be like the Weed League or something.
Kind of.
It's run by Ricky.
Well, it's player-owned teams basically.
So,
that's the whole thing.
Just in general, I don't think you have to bring him back. I don't think he needs to come back. He had his run, he had his opportunities. And I think if he wanted to start for a team, his best bet would be to continue playing in the league that he was drafted, and that would be in the AAF. So, I don't think so.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, it's Josh. If Josh had really wowed me today, I'd say maybe, okay, fine, at least give him an invite to training camp. Sign him in a contract, you can cut him. But he was just horrible today. I mean, he overthrew passes consistently. He held on the ball too long on all those, busted play rollouts to the right. He did missed reads. There were some passes in there. If he'd had a better, higher quality NFL arm, he could have got him in, zipped him in there, but he just couldn't today for whatever reason. So I like the guy.
I haven't looked at the numbers, obviously, for his 4 starts he's had.
3.
No, it's the
4 games.
3 starts, but he's played in 4 games, right? Yeah.
No. He's played in. Yeah, I'm sorry. He played in the Week 14 against the Giants and then started Jacksonville.
Right. So I would venture if you look at his numbers, there's signs that he got a little worse each week as teams started figuring him out.
It's funny you say that. I can. Give
you have those right there?
Of course I do. I have this stuff handy. Against the Giants, he had.
It was like 195 yards or something like that, right?
Yeah, he had 68.7 completion percentage, 195 yards. Against the Jacksonville Jaguars, 151 yards, 64% completion percentage. Against the Tennessee Titans, 56% completion percentage, 153 yards. The quarterback rating has gone down every week. 104.9 against the Giants, 93.9 against the Jaguars, 55 against Tennessee, and today he had a rating of 37.
So it's exactly what I'm saying.
It's like this dude is
people figure him out.
He's crashing back down to earth. Yeah, he's crashing down.
So he's gotten figured out. No, you don't bring him back. He is not a 1-year solution. He is a 1 or 2 game solution at quarterback.
He was an emergence. Yeah, he was an emergency.
And frankly, Colt McCoy is not much different. I hate to break that to Colt McCoy.
I think Colt McCoy.
I don't want to see him for 16
games.
games.
Better. No, but I think he's better.
Oh yeah.
I don't think Colt McCoy would have put up a quarterback rating of 36.
No. I mean, at the worst, he'd be in like the 60s or 70s or something.
A lot of those passes that sailed, and one thing Colt is pretty accurate. I think his problem is health, and he has a weak arm. So
yeah, he would have been dinking and dunking, but he would have gotten it out.
Lisa, dinking dunking, I would have been thrilled with today because there was no dinking.
Right,
or dunking
it was nothing.
Today. It was just stagnant.
No, we had nothing left on
the
offense.
Redskins went 0-9 or 0 for 10, I believe, on third downs or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the Eagles went like 192 out of 195.
Yeah, it was absurd.
I mean, just as an example, the Redskins had 2 yards after the first quarter, and they had 18 yards net at halftime, not including special teams. And then third quarter, I'm sorry, it wasn't. It was 30. It was 30 yards at halftime. Pardon me. And then at the end of the third quarter, they were at 52 yards. I mean, so they just literally did. It was about as pathetic a display of offensive football I've ever seen. I was far more interested in talking to the ladies there at the end of the game than I was at actually watching the game. Say it like that. Yeah,
it was. We've known for a while the offense didn't have anything left in the tank. Like, I feel like this has been frankly, it's been the case for most of the season that this offense has just been sputtering.
The tank got shot with a shotgun a long time ago.
And now it's, just dripped all over the fire, and, it's a mess.
At one point, it was at least a jalopy that was rolling down the road. It's like those things you see where there's this dude, rolling down the freeway at 50 miles an hour, and he's got a rope tying the bumper to the frame of the car, and the windows don't roll. He doesn't have air conditioning, and so the windows are rolled down.
I think of the burned out car in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. That's what I'm thinking of.
Well, I see that was what we had about like 10. And now we're at a car it's on fire in a dump car, in a dumping ground. That's what we have.
Yeah. So I mean, there's going to be a lot of talk later about, and I don't mean later this show. I mean later in the season or in the year about do we rebuild and what we do. There's going to be a lot of talk about that. 'Cause I don't want to get too wrapped up in that. Instead, I want to say, I know we've said everyone struggled. Did anybody on offense impress you guys? Anybody at all?
Yeah. No. Absolutely not. I mean, it's really nothing to go off of. This game was just it was like for the Redskins, it was just going through the motions, finishing the last game of the season, hoping they don't get hurt so they can go into the off season and, stay with their family or go on vacation or do big money things with their money. I don't know.
I mean, if you want to say the people who didn't quit, I thought Michael Floyd gave a decent effort, on some of couple of those balls on limited action. AP always tries, but he was just getting annihilated there.
They were getting to him 5 yards deep in the
Well, it's like, when you know that AP is the only NFL worthy talent practically on the team on the offense, what are you going to do? But the guards we had were just, all of them are freaking awful, just terrible. Kyle Fuller, rep one, got bull rushed. And gave up the sack. He gave up another sack later. Kyle Fuller needs to be put on the first train out of town. None of these other guys, Tony Bergstrom, Luke Bawanko, all those guards need to go. Not one of them. I mean,
none of our wide receivers really do much of anything. It was really depressing. No. All right, so let's flip to defense then. Not that there's a whole lot that we can say. Other than that, in the first quarter and a half or so, they were at least putting up a fight. When did the Eagles score that first touchdown? After the 2-minute warning? something like that.
I believe so.
Yeah, so we.
Yeah, I mean the Eagles had the ball for about 13 minutes.
Yeah, the defense put up a fight in the first half. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, for the most part. But I mean, you can still see throughout the, because when they threw the interception, they were still driving on us. So for the most part, they did okay. But eventually you knew if the offense couldn't keep up with with the Eagles, then it was just gonna be a problem. And clearly,
right.
You know what's crazy? I forgot. Oh, my goodness. I forgot what team it was that avoided. Oh, the Saints. So the Saints was getting shut out, I think, towards the end of the third quarter. And before the 4 o'clock games, obviously, I believe. So the stat that came up as they were getting shut out and before the shutout was ended, it was the fact that they haven't got shut out in over, it was a long time. I want to say decades. And it's just crazy that I'm sitting here thinking that or listening to that, and we get shut out that same week, and we
haven't been shut out, and we haven't been shut out.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting at. We've gotten shut out at, I want to say, we got shut out under Jay Gruden, I believe. The Rams game, I think, in 2014. That was
yes, we did get shut out. I was at that game. That was awful.
The fact that you got shut out twice under the same coach within a 5-year span, and one team hasn't got shut out in decades, and they still found a way to avoid it. Even though they got blown out. Well,
here's another. If you want another measure of futility, because I didn't have enough to do today, I went and looked up every team. The Redskins. Last time the Redskins had won 11 games in the season was 1991, the Super Bowl year. Went and checked every team in the NFL, and guess what? Even the Cleveland Browns have had 11-win seasons since that time. So the Redskins have the longest streak in the NFL, 27 years and counting, of not winning at least 11 games in a season. So there you go, kids. There's your stat of the day.
That's depressing. All right, so in terms of
defense, here's this is the thing. What I kept seeing over and over and over again, at least while it was competitive, was that our inside linebackers are they're just so slow in the case of Foster. The Eagles are getting tons of yards on the edge. It was either, swing passes or just the running back running off tackle and then he'd bounce it out farther left. Our linebacking core, the Redskins linebacking core.
It's a joke.
It's a complete joke. And I don't know why on earth Sean Dion Hamilton is not starting.
Yeah, he was putting some hustle in at least over Foster. When it comes to the linebacking core, there's so many things I look at that I can say, well, this might be part of the problem. And to me, I know we don't play a real 3-4. We play this weird 2DT 4 linebacker scheme where it's really just nickel package all the time. That plays into why we're struggling a lot in the run game. You don't have 7 guys in the box anymore. You're going to get beat up in the run game. That's just old school football.
And not only that, but in about the first half of the game, I'd say the interior defensive line did pretty well because that's without a doubt. I think that's a strength of the team or strength of the defense at least. Payne Allen and Alex's boyfriend was not.
Yeah, he's been missing the last 6 weeks now.
Yeah, something like that. You need to do something better to help him recover, Alex.
Right.
But even them today, even that group, how many times did we see the Eagles run straight at the A-gap, in the second half. Straight at the A-gap, straight through into the second level. Yep. On delayed handoff, delayed, draws, plays. So nobody.
No, but again, I think even that, part of that has to do with the fact that we're not using a 7-man front, ever. I mean, you could probably count 10, 15 times all game that they go with the traditional 3 defensive tackle, 4 linebacker, 3-4 look.
I mean, I realize that a 3-4 is more versatile, than a 4-3. And the idea behind having that nickel backer in all the time is versatility. But at some point in time, the team has got to understand they need to be tough up front. And I think you do that by having a couple hulking defensive ends in a 4-3. Yeah. I would hope that if Greg Minuski goes, and, let's all pray that Greg Minuski goes because he's not been good. At some point, I want to see the Redskins go back to a 4-3. It probably won't happen under Jay Gruden in his 6th season.
No.
But
I mean, the irony is it'd probably be very easy for this team to change up to that, given where we have talent.
Well, they don't. Yeah, I mean, Lord knows, it's not a great loss if any of these linebackers go. And Ryan Kerrigan, I think, would be a perfect defensive end, quite honestly.
I agree.
A 4-3 defensive end. They need to stop. The Redskins need to stop taking defensive ends and trying to turn them into outside linebackers.
Right.
A bit of advice for the Redskins front office. They keep drafting the same guy over and over again. In terms of their outside linebackers, what they're drafting are 4-3 defensive ends, turning them into linebackers, and then wondering why they're not good in coverage. I mean, it's just so.
I mean, it's not a bad strategy, but I think the issue with that is these edge rushers. Even though you want some people who can seal the edge and can defend the run and be balanced, you also lack a lot of speed on the edge. And that's just as important when you're rushing the passer too. And if you don't have that dynamic playmaker, which the Redskins don't on the edge, that hurts as well. So I agree. I just agree to an extent because it works. It's just more so the people that they're targeting. It just doesn't, like Ryan Anderson, Preston Smith, Kerrigan, they're all the same mold. And even the guy today, Pernell McPhee, the free agent, it's the same mold.
Well, I think McPhee at least is.
I don't understand why they don't want more. Yeah. He's not athletic, though. He's not what Jamal is talking about, which is uber athletic, quick burst, speed guy, like what Brian Arakpo was at his nadir, at his highest point. That's the guy we need, and that's the guy they don't draft, and they refuse to draft.
Yeah, and unless you have that, and unless you have, I guess we could pull off a nose tackle at this point with some of the guys we've drafted recently. It's just not going to work. We've never run this scheme correctly for a true 3-4 defense.
Well, you need to have a two-gapping nose tackle, and they just have never been able to find that, and they kind of gave up trying, really, because I don't think Matt Ioannidis.
No, Ioannidis would be a DE in this scheme, right?
He'd be a defensive tackle. He should be 4-3 defensive tackle, I think. Tim Settle is probably the closest we have. And in spite of the fact that all you guys out there are gaga over Tim Settle, I don't know if he really showed much. Oh, by the way, speaking of, I was very disappointed in you guys last week that nobody came up with a Bruce Allen JAF. Okay?
Or even a JPEG. We would have settled for a JPEG.
Anyway, so we're going to extend this one more week, and somebody better do it. We want Bruce Allen in a Speedo. And
we'll give you. Do we want to just give him one of our Fire Bruce T-shirts that we made?
We'll give you a Fire Bruce T-shirt, or if you want to be positive, we'll give you one of the Redskins, the RFK Stadium.
Yeah, sure.
One of those two.
Those are up there.
Alex? Yeah. Okay, so one of those two, if somebody can produce a Photoshop photo of Bruce Allen in a Speedo and knee-high boots, you get a free T-shirt.
That's still on the table for everybody.
I was disappointed nobody did. I really was.
They're too busy tweeting Fire Bruce to think about doing things that are fun.
Can you? I mean, what's funny is if you guys notice this, the phone number for the Redskins Park switchboard got out this week.
No, that was not a line we would cross.
Redskins PR, if you're listening,
Twitter was going to find a way regardless. So, look, we didn't do anything, but Twitter had their hands. They got investigators of their own. So, sorry, Redskins organization.
But the Fire Bruce. But the Fire Bruce hashtag is just gone.
Everything the Redskins official Twitter tweets out, it gets about 300 replies of just Fire Bruce Allen now.
I put out on Twitter at the beginning of the game today that it looked to me like an Eagles preseason game in terms of the crowd. Because the upper deck was, 30% filled maybe at most. The lower bowl looked like a sea of green. Truly.
Well, so the official count I heard from, or unofficial count I saw it, Rick Snyder tweet was maybe 50,000 people, and about 40-something thousand were Eagles fans, is his estimate.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I'll check here. Keep talking. I'll check and see if we got the number.
I'm sure the Redskins will put out the official at like 58 or something. They always seem to overinflate it because they're doing tickets sold, not gates.
Yeah, they're doing tickets sold. Yeah,
but
it's not out yet. But
so that it was just a bad look. It really was. I don't know if we want to get into do you guys think this carries over to the next season?
No,
the
absolutely not.
Lack of attendance.
Oh, I'm sorry. I jumped the gun. No. Yeah. It does.
Attendance?
Yeah, I jumped the gun. I thought you was talking about the Redskins performance. The attendance definitely does.
Well, talk to us about the Redskins' performance, though, Jamal, because that's what's more interesting to me. Because I've always said, if the team starts winning, all this stuff will go away, we go into the offseason with a bad taste. The fans go into the offseason with a bad taste in their mouth. And obviously Bruce Allen isn't going anywhere. And Adam Schefter said on ESPN TV this morning that the, quote, sense is that Jay Gruden stays. Right. He's done enough with a roster that's, like UPS drivers, at this point to stay another year. So what's more interesting to me, because we're a football show, is whether the performance. What do we think about the performance and whether it carries on?
I'll be quick. It's really not that extensive, but just in the simplest terms, every year, regardless of how we feel about the team, every year is a new year. So as players, anybody, and this is a sense that it doesn't have to be on a professional level. It's just any sense when it comes to any team, organization, or a team, period. When you start a new year, there's always that sense of, there's always that sense of optimism. There's always that sense that we can do something. And with that being said, in terms of the player's perspective, this performance this year will not carry over into the new year. They will always have a fresh sense of motivation, and that's what really carries on when it comes to teams. Now, whether or not they revert back to their performance this year, that's something within itself. That's a whole different story, because you can start off very good in a year, and then some few things go wrong, and then it's just it's a snowball effect. So that's something within itself. However, the momentum from this year, or lack thereof, I would say, it's not going to carry over. It's always going to be a fresh sense of hope and things like that within the team itself. Whether or not we feel the team will be good or not, that's a different discussion. That's between us. But for them, it won't carry over at all.
Well, and also, that's true, and let it be said that a good number of these players are going to be gone. So there's going to be a whole new crew here. I think if the Redskins were smart, at least from a fan perception standpoint, I'm not saying I think this is the right thing to do necessarily, but what they ought to do in the draft, if they want to make fans happy, is find a dynamic playmaker early in the draft. That's what would, again, that may not be the right thing to do for the draft itself, but that's what would get fans energized. It's probably not going to be a quarterback, but find a wide receiver, find a running back, that's dynamic, that can take Chris Thompson's place. Somebody like that would energize the fan base, I think. But if they go out and they draft like a guard, like a Sean Laval replacement in the first round, that's not going to generate too much excitement.
All right. So final question. We're going to wrap up the show with this. I want each of you to give me one name, a surprise name of a player that won't be back next year. And then let's close out the show.
You said a surprise player that won't be back?
Jordan.
Yeah. Okay. Jordan Reed. Okay.
Listen, Jordan Reed, what did he make it through 13 games this year? For him, that's good. He had a down year, and part of it was the quarterback play, but I really thought that he would have had a better connection with Alex Smith than he did.
They were practicing together a lot. So
he's just a really big contract number, and he has the sheer number of games he plays. It just doesn't equate, I don't think. And they can cut him next year from a dead cap perspective. So this may not happen, but that's my guess. Jordan.
All right, Jamal, do you have a surprise name?
A surprise name. I guess it's low hanging fruit. I guess since the fact that he's in need of an extension, but I just don't think they'll be able to re-sign either Jamison Crowder or Preston Smith. So I think both can be gone at the end of the year or in free agency actually. So
I don't know if we even want to re-sign Preston Smith.
Yeah,
honestly,
logistics. I think that I don't think you'll be able. Two things. I don't think you'll be able to get another person. You may be able to get somebody who can produce just as much as him, like on a cheap level in free agency. Who knows? We have to see how things turn out. But at the same time, I think one of the things that you will want to do because of his performance, you may be able to offer him a little extension before he hits free agency. And, that may entice him to stay. Who knows?
He said he wants to test the free agent market.
So if he said that, then you're probably not getting him back because there will be money out there for him.
Right.
So. I guess Preston, if that's the case, then probably Jamison Crowder. I don't think he comes back either.
All right.
Smith has only had 4 sacks this year, and he's supposed to be a sacker. So
he's a rotational guy. moneyball it. That's what you don't overpay those guys.
What's yours?
Mine, I mean, I hate to go with an overly obvious one, but I think it's Josh Norman. I think you take the salary cap hit and you take the performance, it just doesn't work out. You need to spend money in other areas, especially if Smith can't come back. Alex Smith.
Yeah, but the problem with that is they don't have anybody to replace him.
Draft somebody.
Preston Smith can be replaced. You want to replace a number one corner who, yes, he hasn't lived up to his contract potential, but he is a legit veteran, a good quality veteran corner, and you want to replace him with a rookie?
Corners are easier to replace than people think. It's an instinct position more than anything.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'd go that far. I mean, the Redskins do draft a bunch of corners. It's your opinion. I don't agree with it. I mean, that's fine, but I don't know. I mean, I get the people who want to say cut him, but I just think you have to have a replacement for him. They need a vet. The only vet they have is a converted wide receiver.
Who was our best corner?
I don't know if he was our best corner.
I think he was. When he was healthy, I think he was. But I think that should kind of wrap up this show, this final show.
You don't want to talk for another hour?
No, I don't. I really do not. We'll talk about it later this week when we do our other show that we're going to do. As we're going to go back to doing, what did we agree on? Every Thursday we're releasing a show now each week. Is that the plan?
I'll have to talk about this.
All right.
We will do one. We will, at a bare minimum, we will cover the playoffs.
Right.
We'll have a written playoff preview next week, and we will continue on the air throughout the playoffs, and then we will transition to off-season mode, whatever that means. We haven't figured it out yet.
I'm going to go to a beach. That's what it means. That's my off-season mode.
As long as you can broadcast.
All right, guys. So that should take care of it this week. Thanks for everyone for tuning in all year, and keep following us on Twitter. We'll let you know what our plans are for when we're releasing shows on social media. Take care.